This video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. Before Ridge sent me this light and sleek little number, the Cobalt Titanium, I used this. And to be honest with you, it mostly just created an awkward bulge in my jeans. Whereas the Ridge Wallet can organise and hold up to 12 cards plus cash via a clip or a band on the back. They have dozens of colours and styles such as the Cobalt Titanium, my personal favourite, carbon fibre and burnt titanium. They come with a lifetime warranty and a 45-day money-back guarantee, and the icing on the cake is that it blocks out your contactless signal, so you can't get digitally pickpocketed. If you like what you see, then use the link below to receive a 10% discount. Good day everyone and welcome back. Today another Dr. Bright installment looking at all the things he cannot do. This time I am joined by my buddy Dr. Sumerian. Be sure to like and subscribe to see more SCP content. This video does contain some scenes of violence and swearing, and let's begin.
Rule 101. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed access to SCP-732 infected documents along with SCP-239. MTF Lambda 2 has been dispatched to contain Chowder Clef. Rule 102. Dr. Bright is not allowed to organize, authorize, or create in any form a Foundation Demolition Derby starring SCPs 2383-J, 708, 666, 2558-J, 1543-J, 2041-J, 2103-J, 968, 462, 115, and 225 for the grand finale. No. Just no. Not even if you try to throw in 682 and try to disguise it as a termination attempt. Rule 103. You know what? Dr. Bright is just never allowed on the PA system. For any reason. Ever. Rule 104. Dr. Bright is not allowed to request access to all cubicle SCPs to make a fort of any kind. Rule 105. Dr. Bright is not allowed to play hot potato with SCP-963. Rule 106. Dr. Bright is not allowed to arrange, schedule, advertise, promote, or sell tickets to cage matches between SCPs. Rule 107. We don't care how many O5s agree to it, or how many precedents there are, Dr. Bright is not allowed a pet SCP. Rule 108. Dr. Bright is not allowed to combine a cadaver infected with SCP-008 with SCP-217. Rule 109. Doctors Bright and Clef are no longer allowed to engage in any activity involving any number of superballs. Rule 110. Challenge accepted is not a valid excuse for anything. Rule 111. Dr. Bright is not allowed to lease out SCP-002, especially if he includes an option to buy. Rule 112. Dr. Bright is not allowed to dress up as Joseph Stalin and ambush Agent Strelnikov in the hallways. Actually, Dr. Bright shouldn't be allowed to dress up as any communist dictator. There really is no way that ends well. Rule 113. Dr. Bright is not to be allowed access to the cafeteria menu at all, nor is he to get anyone else to access it for him, either directly or indirectly. Rule 114. Dr. Bright is not allowed to introduce small children to the Giving Tree. Rule 115. Dr. Bright is not allowed to borrow SCP-159 for his office. Rule 116. Dr. Bright is not allowed to claim responsibility for earthquakes and other natural disasters unless he is actually responsible for them. Rule 117. Dr. Bright is not allowed to dare anyone to play peekaboo with either SCP-569 or SCP-173. Rule 118. When ordering things online, send them to a PO box, not directly to Site 19. We've already had 3 postmen show up at the front door. Also, Dr. Bright is not allowed to give directions to Site 19 to non-Foundation personnel. Rule 119. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to give navigational directions anywhere, especially to Foundation personnel. Rule 120. The SCP Foundation does not have a position for Chief Defenestrator. Agent Clef, by the way, is not allowed to create new positions for you. Rule 121. Any proposed containment procedures that include the phrase giant robot is to be automatically rejected. Rule 122. Excessive force is not the same as the Force. Therefore, using it does not make Dr. Bright a Jedi. Rule 123. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-914 to craft items from Team Fortress 2. Yes, a medigun would be a useful tool for Foundation medical staff, but no, we're not going to waste any more SCP-500 trying to make one, especially not after SCP-427. By the way, Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-914 to craft items from Minecraft either, and your diamond pickaxe has been confiscated. Rule 124. Dr. Bright is not allowed to tell future hosts that you're about to become very bright, and he can't tell anyone that possession is 9/10 of the law. And Dr. Bright is not allowed to refer to D-Class personnel as extra lives. Rule 125. Dr. Bright is not allowed to send SCP-1004 over email. Rule 126. No matter the electricity savings, no product of SCP-158 is to be used for illumination. Rule 127. SCP-001 is not Dr. Bright's penis. The hammer is not his penis. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use his genitals for construction purposes. Rule 128. Dr. Bright possesses the ability of consciousness transfer and the artifact SCP-963. He does not possess any of the following: laser eyes, laser nostrils, laser redacted, any lantern ring, an adamantium skeleton, Anduril, Mjolnir, a map leading to all the Nazi gold, the Ancient Medallion, a copy of the Necronomicon, a King James version of the Necronomicon, cybernetic implants of any kind, the Dragon Zord, and I don't care how you did it, put it back, the 7th element of harmony, infallible Gaydar, the touch, the power, the secret, telepathy, telekinesis, the original filming model of any fictional spacecraft, or elite hacker skills, the sixth sense, and the ability to distinguish between butter and I can't believe it's not butter. Rule 129. If Dr. Bright's current form is sighted near an armory without express permission, initiate evacuation procedure. Rule 130. Dr. Bright is not allowed to test SCP-826 with anything. Rule 131.
Dr. Bright is genius, second worst only to me. He and I are buds and lows.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to give any SCP access to this document without O5 approval. Rule 132. Dr. Bright is not allowed to tell new D-Class personnel that SCP-439 has escaped into the barracks. Rule 133. Dr. Bright is not allowed to convince other personnel that they are actually Dr. Bright. Rule 134. Dr. Bright is not allowed to challenge SCP-082 to a drinking contest, even if you're positive you can win, Bright. Rule 135. We've never had a Jamaican vacation giveaway. Dr. Bright is not in charge of it, and SCP-342 is not the official Foundation travel voucher. Rule 136. Dr. Bright is not allowed access to SCP-243, except under strict supervision. I think we all remember the great marital aid migration of 2011. Rule 137. Dr. Bright is not allowed to challenge Dr. Gerald to a race involving anything. Rule 138. Dr. Bright is not allowed to access any networking equipment belonging to the IT department. Rule 139. Dr. Bright is not to bring samples of SCP-1361 to any Foundation potlucks, barbecues, or charity food drives. Rule 140. SCP-963 is not a soul gem, and making a contract with Dr. Bright will not turn you into a magical girl, not even if he includes a magical girl outfit. Rule 141. SCP-963 is not the soul gem. Bright does not have access to the Infinity Gauntlet. Please stop glaring at people who annoy you and snapping. Rule 142. SCP-137 is never to be used on sex toys. Under no circumstances is Dr. Bright allowed to expose SCP-137 to Warhammer 40k minifigures. At least not again. Not even in an attempt to terminate SCP-682, nor anything made by Wondertainment. Rule 143. Dr. Bright is not allowed to have Abel get into arguments with forum trolls. Rule 144. Dr. Bright is not allowed to go trick-or-treating. Ever. Rule 145. Abel is not Kratos. Rule 146. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to produce, create, or remind staff of SCP Robot Wars. Rule 147. Copies of SCP-1981 are not to be submitted to America's Funniest Home Videos, or posted on YouTube, or on YouPorn, or to Tosh.0. Rule 148. Dr. Bright is not allowed to just say no to O5 orders on the ground that they are instances of SCP-5200-J. Rule 149. Dr. Bright is also not allowed to refer to any Foundation personnel as the cool kids. Rule 150. Dr. Bright is not the final boss of anything.
Bonus rules. Rule number 1. Dr. Bright is not allowed to give SCP-106 cosmetic surgery. Rule number 2. Dr. Bright is not allowed to transfer SCP-079 to any external storage device. Rule number 3.
Dr. Bright is allowed to, and must, come out and see the sun.
Rule number 4. R&D appreciates your enthusiasm, Dr. Bright, but there isn't any amnestic capable of modifying institutional memory. At least none as far as you are concerned. Rule number 5. Dr. Bright is not allowed to expose any more D-Class personnel to SCP-12. Excuses such as, "I'm sure the next one will finish the composition," or "I've got a good feeling about this time," or even "the stars are aligned, now is the time," are all unacceptable. Rule number 6. Dr. Bright is not allowed to draw people, animals, or any kind of conventional or unconventional weaponry for SCP-85, especially if his only intent is for her to say hello to my little friends. Rule number 7. Dr. Bright is not allowed to bring SCP-18 into the cafeteria. That was a clear containment breach. SCP-18 is not a toy. The cost to repair the damage to the ceiling is coming out of your check. Rule number 8. Dr. Bright may not use string, a smoke grenade, and several hundred pieces of origami paper to create a fake 1762 event. Dr. Takanaka and roughly a third of site staff have threatened resignation over the event. As a side note, the O5 Council query what could be accomplished if Bright put as much effort into his job as he did in this joke. Rule number 9. Dr. Bright is not allowed to throw peanuts from an observation booth at SCP-173 after it kills someone during testing. Rule number 10. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-909 as a way of forgetting to do paperwork. Rule number 11. Under no circumstances are Dr. Bright and Dr. Yeet allowed to be around each other. You know what? They should not even know of each other's existence. Rule number 12. Dr. Bright is not to modify SCP-8 to make it more like the T-virus from the Resident Evil franchise. Rule number 13. Dr. Bright is not allowed to smuggle members of the Chaos Insurgency into the Foundation Keter containment wing to troll those idiots. Rule number 14. Dr. Bright is not allowed to create SCP Foundation themed merchandise and sell it to the public to make us a fuck ton of money. Rule number 15. Dr. Bright is not allowed to experiment with, be anywhere near, or have any interaction of any kind with SCP-2950. Don't ask why, just stay away from it. Rule number 16. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use bones or any kind of material to make a clicking or cracking sound that mimics that of SCP-4975. Several researchers are receiving therapy due to the stress you've caused them. Rule number 17. Dr. Bright is not allowed to possess any simian life so he can fling feces and other bodily fluids at people. Rule number 18. Dr. Bright is not allowed to dress himself and others in medieval knights' costumes and then begin a holy crusade on the Gate Guardian. Rule number 19. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use D-Class personnel's eyelashes as a substitute for bread, even if the cafeteria has a shortage of bread. Eyelashes taste like bread is not a valid excuse, and that is weird, even for you. Rule number 20. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-294 to pleasure himself. Rule number 21. We don't care how awesome it might be, Dr. Bright is not allowed to create a robotic SCP-682 to star as the antagonist of a new series of Robot Wars. Rule number 22. Dr. Bright is not allowed to convince anyone that SCP-173 will grant them free cookies if they beat it in a staring contest. Rule number 23. Dr. Bright is not allowed to promise freedom to any D-Class that can beat SCP-049 in an arm wrestle. Rule number 24. Dr. Bright is not allowed to spam the O5 with requests to terminate D-Class, SCPs, guards, MTF operatives, or researchers that he thinks look odd. Justifications such as they look shifty or it's the eyes are not acceptable. And rule number 25. Dr. Bright is not allowed to post any of the 001 files on social media. Yes, Bright, this includes your own proposal. Despite how well written your proposal is, posting it with the memetic kill agent still attached did not increase its popularity. And that concludes this entry. I really hope you enjoyed this video and be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Big thanks to Dr. Sumerian for lending his voice to this video. If you want to see more SCP content exploring a wide range of topics, then head over to his channel and check out his videos. Next time will be the second installment of Tales from IKEA, The Rooks. That one will be out soon. Follow the social media for video updates, check out the shop for some cool posters, and consider joining the Patreon or becoming a member to gain early access, submit Dr. Bright restrictions, get your own sketches, see all the sketches early, and so much more. And thank you to Generals Alert, Rick Trexon, Sam B, JT Walker, Horizons, Jax Merrick, Alexander, Number of the East, and Dr. Roan. Big thanks to the council members Arctoast, Kibara, Len Hox, Captain Core, Hunter Killer, Tree, Arctos, Romulus, the Commissar, Cat Clone, Pepperfish, Arbiter Soul, Kilo, and Bob. And huge thanks to the administrators Kamana, Viger, Gilbert, Panzer, Bunderschnell, and Trey. Thank you all for watching, I will see you all soon, and take care.